Everybody probably knows what I'm going to talk about tonight. And I would imagine that there isn't a rabbi in this country that isn't giving the same sermon. We just had an election, and we had winners and we had losers. Some people are very happy, some people are not very happy. However, in this age of very divisive opinions, it has become more and more pronounced as the years gone by. There used to be elections, and they had the elections, somebody won, people the winners, which is grateful, the other people were like, there's always next 4 years or next 2 years, however you want to look at it. This time, and the time before this, and it's been getting like this for the last 10, 20 years, it's become a blood sport. Now, some of you have played sports. Rebitson and I watched our sons play sports, and sometimes they won a game, sometimes they didn't. And when they lost a big championship, they go into the locker room and the coach would go off and they get crazy a little bit, and the guys would be sitting there and they'd be nodding their heads. And then the next time they met, all right, let's look at what we didn't do or what we should have done. Let's look at what the other team did. Let's learn from it. Let's practice a little harder. And let's give it a winning season. And everybody jumps up and says, yeah, let's do it. And they run out of the locker room. They get on the field and they play hard. Politics isn't like that. Right now, as you saw 4 years ago, as you saw 8 years ago, people are blaming each other. They're getting very passionate. I don't even want to use the word passionate. They're getting angry. There have been a lot of names going back and forth. There have been a lot of accusations back and forth. And this isn't just, I'd like to say it's on either side, but there's more sides. There's like 4 or 5 sides. And every one of them is just really going off. And what I'm going to tell you is that we have to stop this. Now, a wise guru once said, and I think there's a lot of truth to this, a country gets the government that greatly reflects its attitude and consciousness. And I think if you think about that, you'll see a lot of truth in that. Is this what we've become as a country? Have we been so intolerant of each other? Forget the immigration issues. I'm talking about people that are already here, whose people have been here for hundreds of years. It's gotten way out of hand. I mean, it's become, I think the word they're using is tribal, and I hate the use of that word. But it's your side against my side. It isn't like we're still all Americans. It doesn't matter who is running the government. It's still all our job. And we have to get along. And if we don't get along, they're not going to get along because they're going to reflect who we are. So we have to start accepting people. We have to start talking to each other, not yelling at each other. We have to start accepting that the other person may have a different opinion. And even beyond that, maybe you need to listen to what they're saying. However crazy you think it sounds, maybe there's some truth in it. And that's how you learn. That's what Talmud is. I mean, and we're not immune from it too. 500-600 years ago, when rabbis ruled their shtetls, right? Some rabbi didn't argue with another, didn't agree with another, or said something he didn't like. He excommunicated him for 6 months. There's a story in the Talmud when some rabbi said, I'm going to excommunicate you for 6 months. And the guy comes back and says, it's been 2 years. When's the 6 months going to be up? This is what people did. Anybody see the I mean, I know we got a history of this. Anybody see the movie Keeping the Faith with Ben Stiller, and you saw that, and Ed Norton, and what was her name?
The girl.
Yeah.
The blonde girl.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, there's one point where, they're showing Ed Norton going through his seminary. They're showing Ben Stiller going through his seminary. And there's one point where Ben Stiller's yelling at this rabbi, no, I don't agree what you said. I'm not going to take it. And he walks out, It's the way it goes sometimes, But again, they get over it and they go back and they start talking to each other. And that's the way we have to be. If you need to time yourself out because you can't handle a discussion, then do it. Then leave and say, look, I'm not emotionally prepared for this. I'm sorry, but I just can't do this now. And if somebody starts going off on you for what you believe, you need to politely tell them, look, this is not the way I want to have a conversation. I'm willing to talk to you, and we can talk about ideas, feelings, etc., but I'm not going to be yelled at. And if the person keeps yelling at you, just leave. Leave, walk away. That's what you got to do. And that's what we all have to do. And if more and more people start practicing peace and tolerance, but I'm not saying you have to take everything somebody gives you, okay? There's a limit. You have to set limits, but again, you need to accept people. You can't say, well, if you voted for them, I'm not, unfriend me on Facebook. Okay, if that's the way you feel. And if somebody starts calling names, well, they're this and they're that, you know what? I have to unfriend you. I have to not talk to you because I'm not going to tolerate it. And the more people start doing that, there's going to be a pushback. There always is. But after a while, some people will get the hint. Especially if you say, you know what? I'm willing to listen to your ideas and I'm willing to have a discussion with you. I'm not going to do it at volume 12. I'll do it at volume 3 or 4. And I'll listen to what you have to say, and I'd like you to listen to what I have to say. And yes, people get a little passionate, and maybe we need to accept that a little bit and it's good. It's good that people get passionate because it means they care. We all care. Everybody cares. No matter who you voted for, you care. But care enough about other people to not call them names, not demean them for their beliefs. Care about them that they have a point of view. It's got to start somewhere. And the more people start taking this on, the more it's going to change. It's not going to change by itself, because this is how we got here. By people listening to what the certain people were saying. So if you have an opinion that's different than mine, and I have an opinion that's different than yours, that's a good thing. And I'll go right back to God creating humankind. Now, God made us all in God's own image. We are all brothers and sisters because God made Adam and Eve. And that's it. And they gave birth to Cain and Abel. Then Cain killed Abel, right? They couldn't agree. Look what happened there, right? Maybe Abel was a Democrat. I don't know. A Republican, right? And then they gave birth to Seth. And then what does it say? And then Adam and Eve had sons and daughters. And then they gave birth and they had sons and daughters. So we're all related. We all have the same DNA. And yet, even though we're all made in God's image, they say in the Talmud that even though we were cast from the same dye, we all are different. We're different, but we're the same. And we can't forget that. We can't forget that we're all the same, that we have the same origin. We're all in this together. So let's think about that. We got a new year. We got 5785. We just got done with the high holidays. And in a way, I kind of like the idea that the election was right after the high holidays because it gives us pause to reflect on what we did for the last 3 weeks, for those 3 weeks of high holidays, or intense high holidays, the high intensity holidays, right? Let's take some of that with us where we beat our heart. And we said, for the sin of lying, for the sin of demeaning people, for the sin of taking advantage, all those sins. Let's remember that. If you need a mock sort to review, take it home and look at it. But let's remember them. And let's remember that God is giving us a second chance, as God always does every year after this time. And and you know what God does? When you do those al-khits and the ashamru, the guidance, right? And God says, okay, let's see if you mean it. I'm going to put you in the same situation and let's see what you do differently. Well, guess what? It's 4 years later. We're in the same situation. And what are we going to do differently? Okay? So let's take that to heart. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Very good. All right, so turn off the recording.